Hey everybody, what's up from Roll, Minnesota, your state of skate. Hey, I'm Butch Lehman, and today we're kicking off an entirely new series called Skate Battles. The way the series works is we're going to take two skaters, two sections, and pit them head-to-head with one another, with some commentary to see which one emerges as the preferred section. Now, this is entirely subjective, but I wanted to start with a bang with two of my favorite skaters and two of my favorite sections of all time. It's going to be Chris Haffey in Killerboots and Brian Aragon in Game Theory, two of the GOATs. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about the rules for this competition. Essentially, the way this is going to work is I'm going to be looking at 4 criteria in these sections. The first, trick vocabulary, which is going to cover technicality as well as amplitude. We'll look at their style and creativity, both in the obstacle choices and trick choices, but also the fluidity of the tricks themselves. Next is cinematography, which will cover the camera work, the camera angles, the music, the editing. And finally is the overall impact and innovation and rewatchability that these sections have had here in the future. Anyway, guys, let's roll into our first section, and that's Chris Haffey in Killerboots. All right, so here it is, our first entry, and that's Chris Haffey's section in Killerboots. And this video was out in about 2005, 2006, somewhere in that timeline. And this video was put together by Carl Sturgis. It's an amazing video, excellent cinematography in this one. And the rewatchability is something that I keep coming back to over and over again. On this trick, we get a nice true fish in slow motion, and that's one that's always stuck with me. The thing that I think that most compels me to this section, though, is the number of gaps in the high explosive amplitude Chris Haffey brings. You got the full true soul grind there, and then this time switching feet with the right foot in the 360 soul grind. This one we got the true top acid with the right foot, and then again, pulling in the left-footed grind. So already showcasing that technical dexterity. Also, the way he floats into the 450 front farv on that down rail is a thing of beauty, and that's really like the litmus test for a skater that has the self-confidence to throw those big spin tricks. This might be my favorite line in the video, the wall ride over the sign, and he hits the fakie 540 into the little ramp just to get speed for the actual 540. So it's 3 tricks in one, and it comes up quick. The way Haffey's able to pack so many big tricks into one section is one of the main reasons why I love this video so much. Got the wall ride 270 out there, 270 back torque on this down rail. And it's funny because it's the same spot, and he has back-to-back clips, one at nighttime, one during the day. Time he's hopping over the branch. And I mean, this was the era where Brian Aragon and Chris Haffey seemed to be doing battle in every major part competition, but also putting out these big street parts regularly. They probably produced more big street sections in this era of skating than just about anyone. Maybe Alex Broskow in there. Eric Bailey had quite a few. It was a golden era of blading, I'll just say that. We got the front torque. I've already seen a couple of the big gaps from Haffey, and that's one of the things that stands out to me as different from Brian Aragon's section that we'll see in a bit, is a lot more gaps in this one. Look at that front fast slide with a grab. That is not a trick you see all too often. Sticking with the 1 foot, we got the back slide this time. I like how that's a trick in itself, just getting up there. You had to run and jump over the water. High risk, high reward. You didn't want to go into that with damp socks inside the skates as he's performing the gap off of the ledge there. This is a big time ledge roll too, like massive gap into it. Just a tiny defined narrow landing strip. Yeah, I really miss Chris Haffey. In this case, both he and Aragon have taken their retirement. I mean, they're both out there occasionally. Top Soul 720 out on a drop rail. That last ledge trick is probably the trick that resonates the most with me out of this whole section that I constantly think of is that true Mizu to full true Mizu to 270 back Royale. Or maybe it was a full true Mizu to full true... I don't know. But that ledge trick, so much control, so much hold. This time we're going down a big double kink rail with the top soul. Monster rail. Chris Haffey's no stranger to those. Look at the speed going on this ledge and how high that was. He wasn't jumping up to the down part, that was the flat out part. This massive gap too. We're back to this rail with the true spin backslide, or for those that say you can't true spin an H block trick, then that would just be a 270 front backslide. This is one of the ender tricks. It's soul grind, mute grab to drop. This is the ender trick, and again, showcasing the massive amplitude and big gaps that Chris Haffey brings us. It's just a beautiful section. Everything about it is so well done. The cinematography, the skating, easily in my top 5 of all time. All right, well, obviously there was a lot there to like and be appreciative of, but now we're going to transition into Brian Aragon's part in game theory. This was such a definitive section and video when this came out. This was showcasing the Razor team at what some could argue was the peak of its popularity and its influence within the skating community. And I love this intro. The hype is so strong as you have the Razors team out there supporting Brian Aragon. And unfortunately, I have to mute the audio, but you can hear all of the guys giving their props. And we don't know what trick has been pulled. I mean, we know because if you've been around the skating industry, you already know what this ender trick is. But it was one for the ages. Like, such a definitive trick in rollerblading. And the fact that he had all of the support coming together, all these amazing skaters rallying around it, I think makes that introduction even more iconic. One of the things that contrasts between these two sections, which unfortunately I can't show you here, is the music taste and the music selections. The Chris Haffey section was a song called Special K, and it really reinforces the video because it's got all these comments about escaping gravity, and that's basically what he does in his section. And this one is an entirely different genre. This is hip hop. And look at this. We got the, what was it, soul to top soul to soul grind to 360 soul grind. And that's really reminiscent to me of that Chris Haffey ledge trick from earlier. So they're both getting it done with those really technical switch up variations on ledges. Got the backslide, fakie 720. And one of the things I'm going to say over and over again about Brian Aragon is there is no style quite like his. The level of control that he has going into tricks, the compression, the rollaway, you almost never see any hesitation or any stutter from a Brian Aragon landing. It's beautiful. One of the other comments I'll make is we saw in Chris Haffey's section that top sold to 720 out on the drop rail. And we had one there for Brian Aragon off a kink rail. And then to add on to it, we've got a little 630 out on that one as well. So kind of balancing out some similar flavored tricks and styles when it comes to skating. Now, all of that so far was just the intro, and now we're getting into the meat of the section. Got some good B-roll cinematography here. This section, I believe, was put together by Brazil. Pretty sure. You guys can correct me on that, but I think this was in his era of filming and editing for Razors. And he does a really great job, too, especially building the emotional tension of each section. You know, we see that fall clip earlier, and it's always edited to the beat. Massive 180 gap. You don't get quite as many just natural gaps from Brian Aragon in this section, but the ones that we do get, they hit hard. The zero spin cross grab backslide, hurricane topsoul down a massive kink rail. A little bit biased, but you guys already know that that's one of my favorite tricks of all time. I also like a good fish brain, so that's just bonus points right there. Full alley-oop top porn on the down ledge. Cross grab behind the back on a true spin Machio. And these type of hurricane cess slides are also something I've never fully understood. Got another fakie 720 out of a grind. Like, look at this, the control, the landing. That is the cleanest possible landing you could hope for in a trick like that. Going topsoul. This is a very photogenic spot too. Like, look at this. You got the beach in the background, the ocean, just that twilight golden hour with the sun shining. Zero spin fish. Very, very attractive looking trick. Rail transfer here. Fakie 5 out. Again, that perfect rollaway landing. I don't know how he does it. The style is just, it's so good. Really technical line on that one. Backslide, keep spinning the same direction. We got left foot action, right foot action. That's something I commented on for Chris Haffey as well, is the lack of a definitive switch. Like, which way is which? When you're that good as these two, there really is no switch. 360 Machio to true spin fish with the grab. I could try that all day and not get it. Full true fish brain with a grab. You have every right to be excited for that one. That's a big boy trick for sure. This ledge too looks really terrifying. The gap out, the fact that you have to get back over to the parking lot. Like, look how big of a gap that is and how much speed was being brought in. And now we're getting to the iconic trick. This is the one that is ingrained in blading history. It's the fakie 540 hurricane topsoul. And to add insult to injury, he's able to 180 out, reversing direction. It's that rewind 180. Doesn't make any sense. Anyway, guys, before I get to my analysis, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Are you taking Chris Haffey's section in Killerboots, or are you taking Brian Aragon's section in Game Theory? And let me know your justification. Also, if you have any ideas for our next matchup, leave a comment down below. I'm going to be choosing one of the comments for our next head-to-head battle. Anyway, guys, let's get into my analysis. As I mentioned earlier, these are the 4 criteria that I'm using to assess these 2 skate sections. And the first, trick vocabulary, seems to be a draw to me. When it comes to technicality, I'd give the edge slightly to Brian Aragon, especially for some of the rail tricks that were done in this section. But when it comes to amplitude, I would give the nod to Chris Haffey. Many more gaps as well as big stunts in his section. Having said that, Brian Aragon goes big, and there's a reason why these 2 sections are 2 of my all-time favorites. I think I would give the edge in this category slightly to Chris Haffey, because I do think the big gaps adds to that rewatchability. Going into style and creativity, when it comes to the choice of tricks and the obstacles, I think they had very similar approaches. Very traditional obstacles with down rails, ledges, as well as some stunts, some gaps. In terms of the skate fluidity, though, you really can't match Brian Aragon's style. It is just such a clean, compact, and visually appealing aesthetic that I'm giving the edge to Brian Aragon in this category. So it's 1-1 right now. When it comes to cinematography, the music in both of these sections, I think, fits the skating really well. The music in Chris Haffey's section has stayed with me much longer. That Special K song and the Escaping Gravity just fits his skating so well. So once again, it's a split decision here, and I would give the edge slightly to Chris Haffey's section. It's just one I really enjoy. I think all the pieces come together well. Finally, in the 4th category, the impact and innovation. Everybody has seen that clip of Brian Aragon a million times, and although there's a lot of clip-worthy parts from Chris Haffey's section, in terms of notable tricks, I'm giving the benefit of the doubt in this one to Brian Aragon. Rewatch value, that's a tie for me. I've seen these sections so many times, and I'm going to rewatch them plenty more times in the future. I'd give the edge to Brian Aragon in this one. Based on these 4 categories, it's technically a tie for me at 2-2, but we're not doing ties on this channel. We're going to do a tiebreaker. And so here's my final verdict. I think Chris Haffey's section is the more enjoyable watch. It's one that I find myself kind of vibing to the music, to the flow, to the editing, and to the trick selection. But if I'm looking at a section that I think had more impact in the section that is a more completed piece, I'd give the slightest of edges to Brian Aragon's section. Again, that's my total subjective opinion, and ultimately, I'm just one person. So you guys are gonna have to let me know what you think down in the comments below. Also, before I sign off, don't forget to support all of the supporters out there who are sustaining our inline skating community that we all know and love. And let me know who you want me to cover in this next episode of Skate Battle. That's the goal of this, is to highlight some of the best skating sections out there and take some interesting matchups of different sections that have had an impact throughout blading history. Anyway, guys, I'm Butch Lehman of Roll, Minnesota, reminding you all to stay safe, stay healthy, and get out there and do some rollerblading. We'll catch y'all with the next video. Till then, everybody, peace.